provide direction to the district manager and assure the financial solvency for the district. It is not the responsibility of the commissioners to become involved in the daily operations of the district. Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Surratt, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, I will. Chairwoman Childers.
Here.
Vice Chair Dyer.
Here.
Secretary Surratt. Here. Commissioner Stamps.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
All present.
With all 5 members present, I declare that we have a quorum. Commissioners, you have received the agenda in advance, and it also was put out so that the public would be aware of the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda or to make any modifications.
I would make a motion that the board approve the agenda for our meeting today, June 27th.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve the agenda for today. Any discussion? A second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Surratt has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. We received the minutes for the May 23rd regular meeting and the June 6th special meeting by email. You had an opportunity to read those, review them. Commissioner Surratt has had an opportunity to look at them probably closer than the rest of us.
I'll move approval of those minutes.
Okay. Commissioner Brown has moved for approval of those 2 meetings. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Surratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Come to the part of the meeting that is our ceremonial portion. We want to recognize someone who has worked for 22 years with Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District and is retiring. Kenny D. Hart, stand up please so that we can all just thank Kenny, thank you so much. I'm going to give you a little analogy. I was a teacher for a long time. And, you know, everybody went to school, so everybody knew how to teach until they discovered it wasn't quite as easy as it looks. Well, everybody's driven on a road, and everybody thinks they know how it should be done. But you did it well, and we appreciate it. You were out in the cold and the heat and took care of our roads, made a budget absolutely go as far as it possibly could. So thank you so much for your service to the community. We are all appreciative of it.
Okay, Madam Chair, could I ask your comment? Kenny, I really appreciate what you've done over the years that I've been here. And one of the things that I really appreciated was I called you one day. For those of you who don't know, the volunteer firefighters used to chip the branches, you know. You cut a whole bunch of branches on your lot and you bring them up to the front of the lot, and firefighters would come around on Wednesday. Well, we lost firefighters and we didn't have enough to do that. So Kenny's crew took that over. And one day I called him and said, could you come by? And he said, no, I don't have anybody to do it, Ken, but he said, I'll be there. And he came up on his own, I think with his own truck, but anyway, a truck, and picked up the branches, brought them down to the shops, chipped all the branches, and I really appreciate that. You know, Jack Deaton told us, don't throw the branches on the vacant lot next door. let our folks chip them, and just things like that you've done over the years, and not many people know about it, but I appreciate it a lot. I'm not going to be here on Wednesday. My wife has surgery tomorrow. I wish you well in your retirement.
You know, one other thing, Kenny, you're in one of those positions where you hear all the gripes and moaning, but you need to know that for every one complaint, there's 1,000 people behind you that are appreciative of what you've done. So please just let those slide away. Remember all of us who really appreciate Holiday Island roads.
May I add one thing?
Please do.
Sure. Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone that if you're not aware, Wednesday afternoon, 3 o'clock, correct? 3 o'clock, we are going to have some cake and finger foods and refreshment to honor Kenny. And if you have a chance to stop by and thank him and enjoy some refreshments on Wednesday afternoon, we hope you'll stop by and join us.
Thank you. All right. There's a frog in my throat. Announcements. We're at the portion where we have announcements. Barbara, I understand you have an announcement on behalf of the chamber.
I'm Barb Talbot, 9 Horseshoe Drive, Holiday Hour. I am very pleased today to come before you on behalf of the Holiday Hour Chamber of Commerce to announce, if you didn't know, and you probably have to be under a rock to not know, but just in case, Tracy Ram, who is our current president of the Holiday Island Chamber of Commerce, has made a very bold decision. She is currently located at 5 Parkcliffe Drive and has a very successful building. I think probably everybody here has been in her shop. She is a very respected businesswoman as well as respected as our president of the chamber. She made a bold decision recently because of some changes that were coming in her budget. She bought 1 Parkcliffe Place. One Parkcliffe Drive, which is where the chamber is currently located. And because of her strong belief of the success and the progress of the chamber, she is going to make the chamber a focal point in that building. We will be relocating to make accommodations for other tenants in the building to the center of the building. So when you come into her business and others, you will see the chamber there taking up 1 full side of that foyer, and it will be manned 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday. So we felt this was very exciting news, and we wanted to make sure you were aware of it and got it on record.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for bringing us that information. I was not aware of that, but you see,
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. We appreciate so much what the Holiday Island Chamber of Commerce has done
Our
to
pleasure.
promote the community, the businesses in the community, and their cooperation with the Eureka Springs Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely.
We can all win together that way.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that Miss Kitty's? Is that Miss Kitty?
Yes.
It is.
Okay.
All right. Public comments. Per district regulations, we ask that you move to the podium for any public comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address so it can be noted for the record. Please understand that commissioners will listen to your comments, but in general will not respond inasmuch as your comment is not an agenda item. We may refer your comment to the district manager for additional investigation. Do we have anyone that would like to address the board through public comments? Well, my whole paragraph I just read. Thank you. All right, let's move ahead to reports. I think I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Presley.
Okay. Well, we are approaching mid-year, so this is a good time to, as we have discussed, review our capital projects and just kind of see how we're doing this year, budget-wise and on our projects. So we'll start with Mike Barnett. He is the new department head over the roads department. So Mike, would you come to the lectern here and let us know what you've got going on, and I guess you can brief us on the bids and the upcoming projects for this year.
Well, I'm not really current up to all the bids, but I know that we've went over one bid on the chip and seal, the double chip and seal. But right now I am basically getting all the equipment together that we don't use, and we're going to try to get a closed bid like on all that equipment, advertise it and get rid of some of it and try to update. Like get a truck, we lost a truck last year, so we need to add a truck, trying to gain some money there to get something that's going to help us on the roads, especially the plowing in the wintertime. and some other things, chemical tank we're gonna have to have for the truck and different things. But right now, we're just trying to keep up with coal patching, cleaning the ditches, preparing the roads for chip and seal. And I'm happy to be here. Just any questions, I'd be more than glad to ask.
You said you had to prepare the roads for chip and seal? I've learned a lot sitting on this commission. I obviously know nothing about roads, but tell me what that involves.
Well, I've been trying to clean the ditches, which some of them is hard to clean out, but I've been cleaning the ditches, and we strip the sides where there'll be runoff in there, the runoff off the road, and then cold patch them. We sweep them and then we cold patch them. And that way they can come in and lay a level chat down, you know, so it makes it easier.
Once we approve the bid, did they give you any indication how long it would be before they'd be able to do the work on those roads?
I think it's gonna be like 4 to 6 weeks before they're gonna start. So we've about got them caught up. Of course, we got a little more work to do, patching and sealing, but not a whole lot.
Commissioners, anyone else?
Mike, how's your staffing? How many, do you have any openings in your staff right now?
I'm gonna have one. One gentleman turned in his notice today for 2 weeks' notice.
Have you been, had one or still vacancies, or have you been up to your level?
Well, I've had a full crew there since I took it over.
Okay,
Right after, about a month now, 6 weeks, I've had a full crew.
okay.
I just want to say, good luck, we wish you well,
Yes.
and feel free to call on any of us if we can do something for you. It's a big job and big shoes, and we wish you all the best.
Mike, I noticed on the new, and this is maybe for the mayor as well, the new Hawk Drive is beautiful, State Line is beautiful, but I noticed some of the gravel from the sides, which was put in, which I like, but it's getting on the blacktop. And you mentioned sweeping. We don't have an actual sweeper like Eureka does, do we? Truck
We just have a sweeper, we can sweep it off.
sweep it by hand.
Yeah.
Will that cause any problems over time to have the gravel on top of that new blacktop?
No, it shouldn't. First time it rains, that will settle on the edge, and it probably won't never get back up there.
Okay.
It's just from them, they were rolling around on it, and they got a little on there when they were doing that.
Sure. Okay.
But
Thank you.
shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Are they finished?
Are they finished? Yes. And
Thank
they are
God.
finished. Well, they may be doing striping, but I drove that new road the other day, and oh my gosh, it's wonderful.
They're basically done.
Yeah.
They can't stripe off drive because it's not wide enough for a double yellow stripe, and the state won't allow them to single stripe it. So I told them to just not stripe it, and if we save any money at the end of the project, we'll get reimbursed.
It was a wonderful project that the city took on. Mike, if you see that you need things, be sure to let the district manager know. I mean, our job is to balance
Yeah.
all of the different things, and, you know, and the time coming up, I'm sure you have a list, right? There's always a list.
Yes, and Mike and I, we kind of got a routine going. We meet every morning.
Yeah.
He comes by the office and we spend a few minutes and just talking about what they've got going each day. And Mike, I want to say thank you for stepping up, and he did not blink. He jumped right in there and has taken the bull by the horn, so to speak. And Kenny has been great in kind of coaching him up and showing him the ropes on the administrative side of things and the budget and all of that. So the two of you have worked well together to make this a smooth transition. I appreciate that.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, we will move on to these pressure relief valves or release valves. Dan Schrader, you can tell us the proper name for those PRVs, but can you give us an update on that, as well as any other projects that you've got going on with water? I spoke to Jeff Denhart last week about the UV project, the dechlorinization, briefly, but if you could brief us on that as well.
Okay, yeah, the definition is PRV, it's pressure reducing valve. We got 5 in stock and we're trying to find the time to get those installed. We have 3 spots already picked out. We just need another 2, which won't be hard, but it's just trying to coordinate everybody involved in it to get these functioning, to get them in there. It doesn't take long, it takes maybe 4 hours at the top, but it's just trying to find 4 hours in a day with everything else that's going on, so we're trying to get them, we're planning on trying to do them like 1 each day, so it'd just be a week's time, and we'll have them all installed, so. We got, as all of you know, we had well 1 go down, had to replace it, just some other things that have popped up that just trying hard to coordinate things to get them done, but we are gonna proceed. We'll get it done by the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, for those that aren't aware, that issue with well 1 could have been a nightmare, an absolute nightmare, where the island had no water whatsoever. But you guys were able to kind of make it all work and get it all fixed, and so hopefully we're set for another 50 years. So, yeah, let's hope. So thank you for that. Ken?
Dan, I had a question about next year's budget. How many PRVs would you say that we might need in the future per year if you were to make a guesstimate?
I'll have to get back with you on that one. I think we, you know, a lot of it is trying to coordinate, because the ones that we have installed are functionally working. And some of these may have to get moved. So that's what we're going to kind of look at too.
Be in a better position to serve more houses and so forth. Was, when an engineer did a plan or came in and looked at it, did they give some idea? I think, Dan, you were, when you were on council or commission, worked on that. Did they say, like, if we have 15, you might do 3 or 4 a year? Or was it
right? And again, it's just trying to coordinate it to get them all in there. We got 37 PRVs altogether. The ones the engineer suggested, we already changed out, so now we're just going back after the other ones that weren't selected and trying to get them finished.
Great, okay. Thank you.
Have you seen, Dan, a significant decline in the number of waterline breaks because of this work?
We're not seeing so many of the pressure breaks as we have experienced. However, our overall water loss is still the same. And that entails it just going back to what I've been saying, is just all the little lines that are leaking. Instead of having like major breaks, we have to go after these smaller ones on service lines, and, you know, the 2-inch, 4-inch, and the little leaks. So.
From your experience, another left field question. From your experience, these extended periods of very dry conditions like we're seeing lately, do they have an impact on waterline failures?
No.
No? Okay.
All right, any other questions from the commission?
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
Appreciate what you do, Dan. Thank you.
Yes, thank you much.
Thank you, Dan, and welcome back. He just got back from vacation.
From vacation, that's why he looks so relaxed.
Just like this afternoon.
Yeah. Next up, we have Corporal Aaron Engel with Carroll County Sheriff's Department with his monthly report. Corporal Engel, thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. It's been a wonderful morning. I was at a local resident this morning. Just so you know, the stop signs in front of the White Oak and Cornerstone Bank there, those are enforceable. I get that a lot, that it's a side street. So this morning it was an off street and there was no traffic, so she didn't realize, she didn't understand why she was getting a ticket. So, well, she ran 2 stop signs back to back. I get a lot, same with the 4-way at by the hardware store. Those stop signs are there as well. the number one excuse I get all the time, which you guys will find comical, is they're not from here. Well, sorry, I'm not from here. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but stop signs are universal throughout the United States. They're all eight-sided, they all say stop, they work pretty generically throughout the world. But that's one of my sticklers, like why, it's not hard to stop. And these people don't even hit the brakes, so. If I get some complaints, that's fine, I'll take them. So May 2022 stats, we had 144 calls for service, 13 traffic stops, 3 citations, 10 warnings. We had 6 accidents, 5 alarm calls, 4 agency assist, 9 animal calls. We had 2 citizen assist, 2 civil calls, 1 criminal mischief, 1 commercial burglary, 1 dog bite. We had 10 domestics. Big month for domestics.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Welcome to summer.
Yeah. Summer alcohol. All goes hand in hand. 32 extra patrols, 11 follow-ups. We had 1 fraud, 1 harassment, 1 illegal dumping, 1 missing person or runaway. We had 4 noise complaints, 2 reckless drivers, 1 residential burglary. We had 2 stolen vehicles, 3 suicidal person calls. We had 15 suspicious person or suspicious vehicle calls, 2 thefts, 2 threats. We had 5 traffic hazards, 2 trespassings, 4 unattended vehicles, 1 911 hang up, and with 2 misdemeanor arrests for the month. One of the things that I want to just explain to a couple people, whoever wants to know, just what a commercial burglary is, what a residential burglary is, and then what breaking and entering is. They're all 3 different things. In the state of Arkansas, breaking or entering, which is pretty loosely in the world, people think a house is breaking or entering. Breaking or entering is going to be like a car, a non-occupiable structure. So a shed on your property, or a car on your driveway, something like that. And it's not breaking and, it's breaking or. So what that means is they don't have to break something, they just have to enter it. So if your car's unlocked and they rummage through, that's breaking or entering. So that's what the way the state statute works on that call. On residential burglary is any residential occupiable structure. So, and the way that the state law reads is if they entered or remained in a residential structure unlawfully or unwillingly, like if you go into someone's house, hey, they even get invited in, and we're like, hey, you need to leave, get out of my house, you're not wanted here. They refuse to leave. Not only is that criminal trespassing, but that's residential burglary. And one of the parts in that you have to have is you've got to remain unlawfully or enter unlawfully, and you've got to be in there to commit a crime. So criminally trespassing is a crime. Criminal mischief is a crime. If somebody goes into a house, breaks into a vacant house and ransacks it, doesn't steal anything, just breaks stuff, that's criminal mischief. Is a crime they committed while they're in the house. And then pretty much falls into the same as far as commercial burglary. It's going to be a commercial property. Same as the residential part, only it's not occupiable, it's going to be a commercial business. Now, we have had 2 commercial burglaries in the last couple months. Both happen to be the same business. We hope they get better locks. They're supposed to be talking to a landlord about getting deadbolts on it and just really securing it better because it's just poorly done, poorly built. But when they got hit a second time, crimes of opportunity. They knew that they could get in that place the same way they got in the last time. And it was minor stuff that was stolen, but still that's money out of somebody else's pocket. It's a business owner that is losing money. I know you guys are going to ask about the golf cart thing, so before you ask, I'll go ahead and tell you. We obviously recovered the golf cart. It is still bright yellow. It's an open investigation, so I can't say a whole lot, but we do have an active warrant out for the arrest of the person who stole the golf cart. So, the warrant is not for the gentleman where we recovered the golf cart. The gentleman that was seen on the golf cart, he is not who the warrant is for. The golf cart essentially was left at his house. There's been some not so good people hang out there, and that's who the detective deemed to have stolen the golf cart, and that's who the warrant is. It should be picked up today and be valid this morning. So we've got to pick it up from the courthouse, pick it up from the judge's office, take it to the court, and have it entered in the system stuff. But I always got to hunt that guy down. And that's always the fun part. It's fun.
What type of, crime? Is it a felony, misdemeanor?
Felony.
Felony.
Yeah, it's a felony.
Because of the value of the car?
Value of it.
And thank you for clarifying that, because there have been rumors all over,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Yes, rumors are great.
Yeah, rumors are really great.
Also, for those that don't know, the substation for the sheriff's office has moved. We are at 5 Forest Park Drive, Suite E. So we are 2 doors down from the Holiday Out, or not, the Hot Box Pizza. So we're in that building. We do not have any signs yet. We were waiting on the landlord to get the new marquee sign up front. That way the sign guy can come here from Harrison and get everything drawn up and everything and get that done. There was on one of the Facebook pages, many Facebook pages for this area, someone had, I heard rumors about the sheriff's office and this and that, and I got on there. I normally don't chime in on that kind of stuff, but let them know, hey, the sheriff's office is still here. If, he was complaining that he doesn't see a patrol car there. Well, it probably means he's not patrolling. We're not always there. That station is not manned. It is a substation. It's there whenever I need to do reports, take a lunch. I'll have somebody meet me there if we need to file a report. But it's not a manned station. Don't go there thinking that, hey, you're going to find me there. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But the signs should be up hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We contacted this morning the decal guy, so they're going to come over and take all the measurements and get that route going.
Good.
So,
You mentioned illegal dumping. Was that a charge? I mean, or was that just something you investigated?
that was one, somebody had used somebody else's dumpster.
Ah, okay.
So that was all on that one. Which that's the most that I've handled on the illegal dumping side is somebody used somebody else's dumpster. We had one on Woodsdale, like the little duplex that was just renovated right there. That one, the hot box. He stopped me last week on Friday and was asking, he's like, hey man, you didn't have to use my dumpster. It's just, no, I have one little bag of trash a week out of my office. I said, no, what it needs? He said, yeah, I came in and somebody had just dumped a bunch of trash. So he was putting a cable lock on it.
Corporal, there's a question in the audience.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The last several weeks, I used Holiday Hour Drive to go from my home to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I had a terrible time with some of the golf cart people. They'll get right almost to the edge of the street, and then they'll just gun it and go right in front of you. And somebody's going to get hurt. Fortunately, the other day, it happened, I was doing 15 miles an hour and was able to come to a quick stop. Otherwise, I would have hit the man in the golf cart.
And
So
that
they
golf
need to
cart would
be
be,
cautious about, they can't just run out there, and the same as we are trying to drive down Holiday Island Drive. We have to watch everywhere, and it's really hard to see when they're right there, and you don't know if they've stopped to get a drink or get a golf ball or whatever, and then all of a sudden they just go, and it's really dangerous.
no, I agree. And that's something you would think that any golfer should know. It's pretty common knowledge that they do not have the right of way. They have to stop at those crosswalks, and I'm not crosswalks, but the crossings. I mean, that's, they yield to us, we don't yield to them. Friday, I was coming home, and I was coming up Country Club Drive, and a guy and a girl come cut it out of the parking lot of the country club. They looked right, never even looked left. I had to slam on my brakes. And I'm like, idiots. Like, you don't, and there was a big F-250 parked on those outside parking spots, and he just came up behind it and right out in front of me.
There's quite a few times.
Hit my siren, I'm like, dude, like, pay attention.
There's quite a few times that I've had to come to a stop because they're right there and you don't know what they're gonna do. And 9 times out of 10, they'll just go right in front of you. And, I mean, they're closer to the end, to the edge.
Oh, yeah, they go full force until they get that stop, and I've seen them, maybe slam on the brakes. And normally, like, if I'm just cruising around, I'll stop and wave them out and say hi, but they yield up.
And I'm not
I'm
just
supposed to.
picking, I'm not just picking on the golfers. I'm just saying that anyone who's in a golf cart needs to use caution the same.
Oh, no doubt.
Yes.
No doubt. I agree 100%. And I don't know if the country club has signs up or if they sign a waiver, I don't know how all that stuff works up there, when they check out the golf cart.
Every crossing, the way the course is set up.
Yep.
Like 5 to 6, when they cross like that, there's got a yield sign.
Okay. So yeah,
Got
should
a yield
be,
sign for the way the cars go.
so it should be self-explanatory to them.
It's kind of like the stop sign.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Doesn't matter where you're at, it's universal.
All right, Corporal Engel, we appreciate you bringing
I have a
your
question.
report.
Yeah.
Commissioner Surratt has a question.
And it's over now because the road work is done. But I live on Holiday Island Drive, and one Thursday night, one of the work trucks came rolling through there. The only reason I heard it, he had an empty trailer, so you could hear him way down the street. He had to have been doing 50. Is there a good phone number to reach someone so you can be made aware? Okay.
Straight to our dispatch.
Okay.
One thing that I've stressed to anybody in this community that has my cell phone number, certain people have it, department heads have it, and I'm fine with that. But do not call me if there's an issue that's happening currently, because you have no idea if I'm working, I don't have a set schedule.
I would
and
never
you don't know
do
if I
that.
want to call. If I want to call,
No, I would never do that, but I didn't know and actually when I called and reported, I was in my car and didn't have access to my phone book, so but the non-emergency number is in our Holiday Island directory.
I'll give it to you if you want to write it down.
Yep.
It's 870-423-7373. That is the direct line to dispatch. If you happen to Google the sheriff's office, it'll give you the standard line to the sheriff's office. I don't give that number out. I don't like to, because we have this fancy new automated system that I can't even figure out what button and what extension to hit because it's so confusing. And so I just give everybody the direct line to dispatch. It'll ring straight to there, so you don't have to worry about getting the admin or the jail or any of that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll warn y'all, when you leave the county, be careful. Corporal Engel's eyes reach beyond Carroll County.
Correct.
He caught me out and beyond yesterday.
Uh-huh.
But it all turned out good because I got to meet his new wife. And I will say the corporal married up.
He married up. All right.
I did.
She is a sweetheart, so.
Yeah, and a couple other things I'll let everybody know. My time here is numbered. We don't know when. I don't have a set date yet. It's no secret that I've been talking about retiring, but we are having our first baby. So
Congratulations.
thank you. Life is changing, and I am getting out of this work. Not going to do it anymore. Raising a son is going to be my new life. And I'll miss it. I'll miss doing this, but being a dad's going to be way better than this.
Absolutely.
Speaking of this position, have we ever heard anything from the quorum court on the second position?
I think we ought to turn that over to Dan.
The mayor.
I've been conversing with Jack Eaton, the JP, about the status of the contract. A couple of weeks ago, he asked me to call Stephen Simmons, the assistant prosecuting attorney, because he had a couple of questions on the contract. It took me a full 2 weeks actually made contact with him. And when I asked him what his questions were, he said, well, we don't want to do the contract at all. And I asked him why, and he said, well, I'd be glad to sit down and talk to you about it. So we have a meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. Hopefully, Danny, you can go along.
I'll be there.
We'll see what the county's problems are with the contract.
Where's the meeting at the prosecutor's office?
At the prosecutor's office.
I'm curious why the prosecutor has that.
Yeah.
They're the legal counsel
Yeah.
for the county. I mean, it's not a prosecutor's responsibility, but they're the only lawyers they have, so.
Someone told me that, because I've been asking about it, and I was told that it was pushed off till next year is what they were thinking.
Well, that was the first
After the election.
pushback we got on it, was that they didn't have anything in the budget for equipping another deputy and stuff like that, and so I said, well, let me know what it's gonna cost, maybe we can come up with the extra money and have the city take care of it. And then the next thing I heard was that the legal arm of the county doesn't want to do the contract at all for some reason.
It's the quorum court. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I'm leaving. The quorum court hates the sheriff's office. Hates them with a passion. Don't know why.
That's
It's
what
all
this is
way
about.
above, way before any of our admin time. But there's just some type of beef they have with the sheriff's office, and if they can say no to anything with us, they will say no. And it hurts us every day of the week. From pay raises for the sheriff's office, you can go to any agency in this county and make $4 an hour more, starting out, $4. You can go to Eureka, Green Forest, or Berryville and make $4 an hour more than what we get paid here. And the money's there. We know the fact that the county has the money, but the quorum court won't do it. So it's just a beef that they have, and nobody knows why.
Well, thanks for your candor, because that disturbs me. Because, we already have one contractor, they're gonna decide they
Yeah.
don't like that one either?
Yeah. It's silly. I'd love to go, if you guys don't mind. I'd love to go sit in on that on tomorrow.
Well, I think Danny and I probably need
Or
to
just keep me updated afterwards.
pass at it.
Goodness.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to last month's financials, if you would, please.
Yes. Would you
And-
mind,
Yes.
Madam Chair, if we switch the order of the
Sure.
reports? And
Oh, yes,
I saw Colin come in.
Yes, let's do
Colin, this is Colin Paulk with KP Dock Services, who operates our marina, and he's going to tell us what's going on down there with some improvements that he's working on.
A few things going on down there. We'll start with the one that everybody knows about, the walkway. The Corps of Engineers did finally get back to us. They approved our sidewalk expansion. And the lake's going down, so we'll be able to actually do that this year. Once we actually got the inspection, the lake was up, so that we weren't able to do the work. So now that it's going down, we should be able to do the work pretty quickly. We're also going to get some signage on the walkway just at the end. I've already put a temporary slippery when wet signs. We'll have a couple more signs like that installed. We've done some new decking this year. We replaced most of the courtesy dock deck boards and the structure underneath it. There was some 2x12s holding up the center of it. They were a 4-foot span, which is definitely not up to code. So we went in there and replaced them all, put some more 2x12s in it, 2-foot spans, so it's a little stronger and has new deck boards on it. We also replaced some deck boards between the second and third dock, which definitely needed it. And we're going to do the courtesy or the gas dock soon too. It might actually come this fall. The flooring, I don't know if y'all remember seeing the flooring in the marina, but we did get some new flooring down. It's no longer just deck boards. We went with a 1/2-inch foam, kind of like a workout room. So it's nice, it's slip resistant. People coming in with wet swimming trunks on aren't going to mess up the floor. It's really nice, insulated, it's comfortable. So we were able to improve that with some nice thinking. The gas line, So we've had an issue with our gas line. It is a fairly new gas line. MSPE is the company that installed it as Missouri State Petroleum and Equipment, or Mid-State Petroleum and Equipment. Our issue was, so there's electronic valves that whenever you turn the gas pump on, it opens up the valves. So if there was ever a break in the line or something became disconnected, it's already turned off. So we would only lose whatever's in that little break area. So these electronic valves, they have to require an electrical signal from the gas dock all the way. There's one up by the gas tanks. So there's probably 600 feet that it's got to go in order to get that electrical signal up there. It wasn't getting an electrical signal, so we called MSPE and they were unresponsive. We tried multiple times. I did get through to them, and I'm still waiting on their technician to call me back, and it's been over a month. We did find a different company, Springfield Service. They showed up the next day. They were able to bypass the valve up by the tanks. It was a faulty valve. The insides of it were rotten, which is kind of surprising because it's only a couple years old. So they were able to replace that or bypass it temporarily for us because we're not getting that electrical signal that we required. So they were able to bypass that valve for us. Unfortunately, there was another valve at the shoreline that was about 8 feet underwater. That electronic valve was also not receiving an electrical signal. And unfortunately, with it being 8 feet underwater inside of a concrete box that was buried underground, we weren't able to just go in and fix it, so we did have to wait for the lake to go down. Last Friday, not this past one, but the one before that, the lake went down enough that we were actually able to pump out the concrete hole. The Springfield Service came out and basically just gutted that valve to get us back in service. So we have 2 valves that are currently gutted and an electrical line that's not reaching to the valves. So we have to have an electrician come out and figure out why that's not working. And we'll also have to have Springfield Service come out and replace those 2 valves. They've actually replaced the one up by the gas tanks already when they came back out to gut the one by the shore. So we're pumping gas again. It is a temporary fix, but I believe that they're going to replace the electronic valve underwater that was underwater with a mechanical valve so that we shouldn't have any issues underwater anymore.
About how much will that cost?
I'm not certain. I know with MSPE, they came out and fixed something once, and it was $1,000 to repair a leak. Took them half a day to do it. I don't think this company is like an MSPE. They seem like a smaller mom and pop operation. I talked directly to the technician. I just called them directly. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that you don't really know until you get the bill.
Those valves that failed, were they fairly new, you said?
Yes, they were new, and that's one of the reasons I was waiting on MSPE. I know that there's nothing under warranty anymore, but I am curious as to why especially the newer valves failed.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have an electrical line not get there, but for the inside of the valve, there's rubber gasket material that was cracked, and it wasn't causing. There's a plunger inside that pulls up whenever you turn the power on, and it wasn't allowing it to do that. So I'm not really sure. Whenever they come out to replace the bottom one, I'm going to talk to them more about if it's just because it's sitting in the sun. The one up top is just sitting in the sun all day long every day. We could cover it maybe. So that's on my list of things to talk to John, that's the technician, about. That's pretty much it. We've had a pretty hectic past couple months down there, but we're ready for the 4th of July.
Been busy then, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's
Once
good.
we got gas back.
Yeah.
One other question, do you have any vacancies on slips right now?
It's kind of a trick question. We're kind of shuffling a couple people around. Whenever we're done with the shuffle, there won't be any. But there's still a couple of them that are empty. They've got a name attached to them already.
Any questions from the commissioners for Colin? Colin, thank you. I mean, who would have thought dealing with a marina, you'd have to think about things like valves? Yeah, you, sir.
I just had a question pop in my head.
Go for it.
I've had comments, Colin, from several residents actually, about a group of individuals, a large family that likes to swim right at the base of the boat ramp about 5, 6 o'clock quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel there's a serious safety issue involved. Do you know of anything we can do to shoo them off to the, the kind of the designated beach areas rather than?
Well, you're sort of yes and no. You're going to get some pushback. It is all core property and it's public land, so they're technically able to be there. The only time that I could tell them that they're breaking a regulation or a law would be as if they're swimming within 50 feet of the dock. And whenever they're over by that launch ramp, they're not within 50 feet of the dock. So I don't really have the authority to tell them otherwise. I've seen people out there swimming, and it's not a great idea to swim where boat props are.
No.
But it's kind of like people on the golf cart. They can stop or they can run out on the road, and some people decide to run out on the road, most people decide to stop.
These individuals, according to what I was told, people would try to launch their boats and stuff, they wouldn't even get out of the way, which I thought was
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
smart.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that issue. I do know there's a couple that like to fish there all the time, but they're always out of the way. Don't bother anybody, and anytime that they've been in the way, they've kindly moved and just gone back to fishing.
Well, my request, I guess, Colin, if you would make your staff aware that some people have thought it was a problem, and they could just keep their eyes open, and if they see it going on and we need some kind of help, let us know, whether it be signage or
if they're blocking the launch ramp from being used, that's a different scenario than if they're just swimming off to the side.
Sure.
Refusing to get out of the way, that might be something that we could actually step in and say, hey, this has a purpose and you're blocking that purpose.
The Corps doesn't have any stipulations about the launch area?
Not that I'm aware of. I'll call my contact with the Corps and see if there's anything we could do. We were talking about putting up a yellow post over there by the launch ramp. We could put a sign up that says no swimming. Mike and I were talking about putting that post up, but so
Who owns the parking lot? Like, how far up does the Corps?
The Corps line goes up just past the bathroom in the parking lot. So all that parking lot's Corps property.
Got it.
So yeah, it's all in the jurisdiction.
Okay.
Or call, your staff could call 870-423-70.
Did anybody ever know, like, has Holly Island ever inquired about like a swimming area like you see it like the marinas? Like, you go to Prairie Creek or Rocky Branch, you've got like the designated swim areas that have like the big buoys. Yeah.
We're not an official swim area by the Corps of Engineers. It has to do with the main channel. And the fact that swim area is in the main channel. Most of your swim areas that you see are all kind of tucked away. And the 100 feet is the Corps' magic number for main channels and things like that.
What about when you go under the bridge? Because that's all in a wake zone over there.
And see, I was actually thinking about that the other day, because that's the creek, so that might not be Corps property.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where the core property stops on the inside of the bridge.
Okay.
Anywhere the water goes is core property.
Yeah.
Well, technically, once it gets on the other side of the Beaver Bridge, that's Arkansas Game and Fish territory. That's the river.
That's the river.
And the creek, I mean, that's not core property if it's if it's a creek. Now, I'm not sure how far they consider where it becomes the creek and where it becomes the lake. But once it becomes the creek, that's no longer core property.
They've got take line all along the island.
Yes, everywhere.
Anywhere they got a take line, they're hugging the tree.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's core property that goes to a certain elevation.
It's all west of the bridge.
That,
On 187,
The Beaver Bridge.
Oh, it does go all the way up there?
It goes that,
wow, all the way down.
So they must consider that part of the lake then.
Something else I wanted to say real quick, since we're talking about that area. I bet I probably had a half a dozen calls over the last month about people jumping off the bridge. There's not a state law that says they can't do that. I've researched that. The only way that we'd be able to enforce anything is if the city had an ordinance that states that you can't jump off a bridge. So whenever we've had, probably 6 calls over the last 3-4 weeks, and I can't stop them having a good time. There's nothing I can do to stop them from jumping off the bridge. There's no laws or anything about it in the state of Arkansas. So if that's something that we wanted to stop, we could, if we do an ordinance or something like that, post signs on each side of the bridge. That'd be about the only thing that we could do. Is there some?
Broken
Is there-
law.
Yeah, the mayor's so
Sorry,
popular
I
now
can't-
anyway. One more thing.
Just to be like this way.
That's all I've got, Colin. Thank you very much.
Colin, thank you.
Yeah,
We
and
appreciate it.
I'll ask the court about that swimming issue. See what we can do about it.
Part of the problem, according to the people that talked to me, was that none of these individuals speak English.
Maybe they don't know they're being asked to move out of the way then.
Communication became difficult.
I said a boat backing down towards you would be indication
Yeah.
enough.
All right, thank you,
Personal
Colin.
language.
Thank you. Dan, Mike, yeah, we appreciate you guys coming today and talking to us. We really do. I have to add Kenny in there. He hadn't officially retired yet. All right, let's move ahead to financial reports.
Yes, ma'am. So I believe all of you have your charts in front of you there for the month of May. And there's not a whole lot that's noteworthy in these financials. I'll point out a couple of anomalies on the first page under expenditures. Under the water and wastewater, you can see the expenditures were a little over $474,000 as of the end of May, and that's almost 52%. The reason that's a little high is $93,000 of that was well one.
Well, one.
So that put us a little ahead of the game on expenditures there. And then under the fire department budget, they're at $212,000, which is 46%. They're not far off the mark, but the chief, and it was necessary to do so, he spent quite a bit of money in repairing some of our apparatus. There were a lot of repairs that needed to be done on the trucks. In fact, one of them's in the shop now, I believe, having some more repairs done. And then we bought several new helmets as well that we paid for those in May. So that's kind of what's driving that number there.
Well, I've signed checks for fire department tires, and I never knew that fire department truck tires were so expensive.
Very
Yeah,
expensive.
very expensive.
Yes, and as I told Chief, there's just no choice. We have to keep our equipment in good working order, and those guys depend on it. So as you can see, overall, we're at about 37% as of the end of May. So it looks like we're tracking pretty well. On the next page, you can see revenue is right on track. We're actually a little bit ahead because, May be in the 5th month. We're right at 1/2 of the non-AOB revenue that we anticipated, that we budgeted for the year. right at 50%.
Okay.
So you can see how we're tracking there. I wanted to show this in two different ways. So on the next slide, you'll see this in terms of percentages. Now this is percentage of revenue versus what we budgeted, what we projected. So, but some of these numbers are a little misleading. When you see roads is at 177%. But yeah, it's over, but it's only like $4,000.
Yeah.
I mean, we put in a couple of culverts and I'm not sure what else. Mike, do you know what that other revenue is? I know we've done a couple of culverts and
Not right offhand.
I don't either. And thanks to Mike's work, you'll probably see that roads revenue go up. Whether we show it there or if we show it in our what we call general fund, because all of that equipment and metal that they have picked up around the yard and the shop there, some can be sold as scrap. Some of there's a tractor, there's an old truck, there's a roller. There's a grader and some other equipment that bring a significant amount of money. So thank you for cleaning all that up, Mike, and we look forward to that revenue. Or we can buy something that will help us fight the winter weather when the time comes. So right at 50% on our revenue as of the end of May. This is just kind of a recap on the next page. I'm showing this as non-ALB revenue because I'm tracking the ALB separately on a, you'll see that on another page coming up here in just a few minutes.
Danny, back to the previous
Yes, sir.
chart showing the clubhouse at 196%. Is that telling me that our sales are
Yes.
almost double what they were
Yes,
a
sir.
year ago?
Yeah, sales and rental of the
That's
ballroom.
rental, I think, of the ballroom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because the sales would be under restaurant.
Yeah, you can see
Okay.
restaurant sales there is broken out. But I think I would have to go back and check to see if merchandise in the pro shop area is under clubhouse. I believe that it is.
Oh, is it?
I think
Oh,
it is.
okay.
I'd have to go back and confirm that.
And I realize golf operations gets a lot of their money up front because of buying a year pass, but I'm glad to see that they're at 53% of anticipated revenue.
So next page, you'll see the revenue versus expenditures. Next page. Got that one. You can see revenues lagging behind the expenditures right now, but you know, a lot of things like on the pro shop and the marina and the golf course, there's a lot of that money that is spent up front preparing for the busy season. And then, so there's kind of that lag there as the revenue comes in. So I think we're in good shape there. And you can see in the, well, it looks like I'm missing one here, but if you remember, commissioners, I sent you about 6 weeks ago kind of an analysis of the money market account, which is kind of our general fund and the way it ebbs and flows through the year. As it trends up and down, it's kind of interesting to me to see how, you know, the correlation between every year over the last 5 years, and it's right on, it's spot on when I plug those numbers in for the end of May. So, and then you can see on the next page, Cheryl, that the AOB revenue, and of course we'll continue to track this month to month. We're at $936,000 in collections and $3.4 million still outstanding.
But the office staff tells me that it all comes in October.
It does.
You know.
September and October is when it really starts to come, because as we pointed out previously, it's not due until October.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm pretty confident that, I mean, for where we're at in the year, we're right on track. So you know, we have to have a lot of fiscal restraint because we just don't have a lot to work with. And I want to commend our department heads in each department for being responsible in the way they manage their budget. You know, they're always looking for some way to, you know, cut costs where they can and be conservative with the budget. So thanks to them, we're doing well.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at that slide on non-AOB revenue and expenditures. They've only expended 36% of what we allotted for the full year. I'm not sure what 5/12 is. My math is gone.
Yeah, somewhere in the low 40s.
So they're really being frugal with what
Yes.
they're spending, and gosh, we appreciate it.
On the past dues, AOB past dues, which is $1,363,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are we billing in that $4,272,000? Are we billing those past due?
That 4.2 million is all in. That's everything that's owed to us.
Past dues and current?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, but that 4,200,000 contains almost $1,400,000 in past due amounts.
Correct.
Is that past dues from previous years?
Yes, that's why we show it as the past due, because we
Okay.
take the current amount owed
When do we say it's not going to get paid?
after it goes through the foreclosure process and that gets wiped off, so to speak.
How many years is that?
Well, we start foreclosure after 1 year, but that process takes about 1 year. So it would
Be about 2 years.
generally about 2 years before the whole cycle takes place.
When are we going to write that off?
Well, after about 2 years, it's like a rolling 2-year period because you have a number of properties that come into the cycle every year, and then a number of foreclosures that are concluded each year. And so it's kind of a rolling 2-year period.
So you say if they pick it up at the state, it comes back in as current.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. It would be wiped at that point.
Okay.
You know, that question came up last month, and I went in and talked to the ladies in the office about it so that I could better understand it. And it made a little bit more sense to me. There was a worry that the past due amount was going up. You know, it increased over the last 3-4 years. And they were saying that between COVID taking time, the attorney that got killed in the car wreck and finding a new foreclosure attorney, that things had really slowed down. So the analogy they gave me is consider a ball of rubber bands, and that's the past due amounts. Normally what happens is when you foreclose, you take some of those rubber bands off. You take them off of the past due amount.
When
Write
you
them off.
foreclose, do you write off the amount that was past
Yes.
due?
Normally, yes, is what they told me. However, because we hadn't been foreclosing as fast as we had in the past, that ball had gotten bigger. And they're now foreclosing, and they're starting to strip off those past due. And yes, they write them off.
Okay, I was very disappointed. I did not get to chat with auditors. He has not called me.
I will follow up on that again,
He has
Mr.
not called me.
Stamps, and see if I can get him to call you this week.
That's a question I had, Danny. I was out of the state when the auditors came, but I was wondering if any of the commissioners or you talked to them, or did they have any advice on that same question that Larry just asked about, and Suzanne explained, about foreclosures and how we're reading that as 1-point-something million, and we're including it in the 4.272. And there were some other questions on different types of accounting that I don't understand anyway, so I wouldn't have asked if I were here. But did their presence here answer any questions for anybody that were?
They didn't meet with
at the
anybody.
previous meeting?
They didn't meet with anybody.
Well, they were here on site.
With anybody though.
They were available, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, except the day that I was going to meet with them, they skipped out the day before.
Well, they did finish up early. Their plan was to be here Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but by like mid-morning or right before lunch on Thursday, one of the auditors came, well, actually, I came back here and asked them, how's things going? You need anything? And they said, no, everything's looking good. In fact, we're going to finish up early. And they finished Thursday afternoon. And so, but to answer your question more directly, no, they did not ask or discuss the past due AOBs. I mean, obviously, they're aware of it. That's on the books, but it's just, there's nothing they can do about it, and nothing we can do about it other than to keep billing and try to encourage people to pay.
So Larry, you called the office, but they haven't returned your call?
No, he was supposed to call me.
Okay, Danny, Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions, financial, well, one of them is, you hear on Facebook, or I read on Facebook, and you can't believe everything that's on Facebook, but I saw a comment yesterday or the day before that our fire department was not manned at some point, and for dispatch calls, 911 calls, and I thought when Chief came about a year ago, when he was hired, that we put up money for 4896 programs to have that fire department covered 24 hours a day. Was that not correct? That somebody would be there
The
too?
4896, I'm not sure exactly how he's arranging the schedule, but yes, we have a full-time position around the clock, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We added another full-time person to the fire department staff to accommodate that schedule, so it would be staffed full-time.
Well, the issue was in the comment, and it happened to be a former employee, that there was no one on duty. So if you called 911, you had a heart attack or a fire.
That is incorrect. I spoke to the chief on Friday and again on Saturday.
Okay.
In fact, he even made copies of the call logs and sent that information to me.
Good.
And that was not factual. We did respond to all of those calls.
Okay, great, thank you. And that's why.
And Ken, there was only a 6-hour gap where one of the firefighters had called in sick, and it took the chief that long to arrange somebody to take that slot. So the whole thing, as our chairperson reported on social media, was misleading and false.
Yeah, I didn't see the other part of it. And I understand, but the public gets the first post, right? They look at
and
that
that
and
is
they
the
don't get what's going on. But I'm glad to see
Typically,
it.
They only read the bad news.
yeah.
Yeah.
And typically,
Wouldn't it be incumbent upon the chief to go in there and man that station if he couldn't get anybody? Well, a 6-hour gap seems like a long time.
Well, I mean, he was on duty.
Oh, from home?
That was a weekday.
but I mean, he might have been from home. Remember, before we funded this particular arrangement, that fire station was unmanned for, what?
16 hours, 16 hours,
a day?
Monday through Friday
Yeah.
was unmanned.
So,
And then weekends, it was never manned. So.
yeah, and so they did it from home anyway. So, we now have somebody there 24 hours a day. So I think we're in better shape than we have been.
Except it was 6 hours that there was not somebody there, right?
Well, someone had called in sick, and that was the period of time it took them to find someone to come in for coverage.
Yeah.
And if someone had called 911 during that 6 hours, it would have gone to the chief's home, private cell number.
They'd gotten the chief somehow or another.
But volunteer firefighters did respond on 2 calls during that period of time.
I appreciate that. If I don't know, I'm gonna ask a question.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. But I don't want our fire station not to be manned, and my house is burning and nobody's coming. Or I'm gonna have a heart attack and nobody's coming with AEDs. Okay?
For 11 years that I lived here, the fire station was unmanned 16 hours a day. I didn't realize that. So we now have somebody there all the time, plus they're available through whatever communication they use.
The other financial question I have is, I appreciate Mike, you and Kenny and Danny coming up with, at least in the road department, equipment that could be sold to another party. And we had the $55,000 fire truck piece of apparatus that you found and the chief found, and it's sold to a New York fire station. And I think that's good. And I'm sure that we have other departments that have other excess things. This building probably doesn't have many because they stole computers and broke in. But in a school district where I worked for 40 years, we had a lot of stuff that would be auctioned off or sold by silent bid or something. And I'm glad that you're doing that because it's just sitting there rusting probably. But the other big financial question, and I thought it would be on the agenda today, is the rec center. Where are we on that? And it's been about 4 months since I think closed down, right?
Yes, I spoke to Butch Berry, I guess it's been about 2 weeks ago. And he was not at that time at the point where he could complete the plans and give it to us so we could put it out for bids. So he's working on that. He had to finalize the floor plan. The survey's been done, so he has the site survey to incorporate into that, and he has to draw the elevations and materials, some of those types of things. There's an electrical schematic, there's plumbing, mechanical, HVAC. All of that has got to be done, and then we can put it out for bids. I'll follow up with him again this week.
Do you have an idea of how many weeks it's going to be more?
I asked him that question, and he couldn't tell me. He's working on a lot of other projects. I'll continue to communicate with him and tell him we need to get going on that.
Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions? All right, let's move along then. Old business. One of the things that we're supposed to do, and I have been told this before and tend to forget, we need to approve the financials. So we have previously reviewed these in prior meetings, but we need a motion to approve the March and April financials.
I move to approve the March and April financials.
Okay, Commissioner Surratt has made a motion to approve the March and April financials. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Brown is seconded. Any comment, discussion?
I still have a problem with $31 million of accumulated depreciation on assets that amount to $16,000. That's doubled. You depreciated them twice, and they have no value.
Well, we'll let you work that out with the auditor since we're not accountants.
You bet we would have been.
They've audited our books for many years, so I'm assuming they're going to have an answer for
I
you.
have problems with auditors.
All right, we have a motion to approve the financials, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I restrain. I vote no. I don't think they're right.
We have a 4-1 vote on that, so the motion passes. All right, moving to new business. Consideration or action to approve a road maintenance interlocal agreement with the City of Holiday Island. So turn that over to you to do some clarification.
Yes, ma'am. The mayor and I have spoken about this interlocal agreement for several weeks, and I think we, philosophically, we agreed on a formula on how to do this, which essentially is we would take the percentage of roads that was conveyed to the city. In this case, it's 5.2%, I believe. Did I get that right?
That sounds about right.
5.9%. So if the city owns the right-of-way on 5.9% of the roads, then I believed it was fair and kind of a transparent way to calculate this. We would ask them to pay 5.9% of the roads department budget. And in this case, the budget was $418,199. So a 5.9% of that, a full year's worth, would be $24,673. But the agreement as reflected here is to prorate that for 2022, beginning July 1st through the remainder of the year. And that amount was $12,337. And then, as is stated in this proposed interlocal agreement, They would recalculate that every year based on whether or not the percentage of roads changes and based on an increase or decrease in the roads department budget for that year. So that's the formula, and I think it makes sense. I think it's a very simple and transparent way to do it. And I would recommend to the board that we move forward with this agreement. Yes, sir.
Danny, for the sake of any audience here or on the internet that might be listening, could you clarify why this is necessary? What roads are you talking about?
Sure.
We know that, but they may not.
Yes, the city, thankfully, and thanks to the council and Mayor Keys, pursued a grant for a state road project. It was a little over $600,000. However, there are some legal considerations in taking state taxpayer money and applying it to roads that are owned by the district. So in order for state money to be spent on these roads, the roads had to be conveyed to the city. But the city does not have a roads department to maintain the roads. So it became necessary for us to enter into an agreement to have some methodology to calculate what the city would pay the district to continue to maintain these roads where the right-of-ways are now owned by the city. That state road project amounted to 5.9% of the roads in Holiday Island. And the project is done, the roads have been conveyed to the city, and so this agreement here is the next step towards HICID maintaining those roads.
And for further clarification, that $12,000 will be spent on items like snow removal, storm damage recovery, road and ditch repair, mowing and vegetation control, driveway entrances, and culvert maintenance.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
those are the types of things that would happen on those roads that are now owned by the city. So, any questions about the contract? We've all received it by email and had a chance to review it.
If none, I'd like to move approval of that interlocal agreement.
Okay. Commissioner Brown has made a motion to approve the road maintenance interlocal agreement.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Dyer has seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Approved. All right, let's move to the bid for the 2022 road resurfacing project on Sunrise Avenue, Mercury Lane, Quail Run Drive, and Appaloosa Drive. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you may remember in our budget meetings back last year, we had Kenny in the room with us, our department head over the roads department, and we were discussing, his priorities, what he believed we needed to do for the capital project this year. And as you can see, the roadways that were on top of the list were Sunrise Avenue, Mercury Lane, Quail Run Drive, and Appaloosa. We put this out for bid about 6 to 8 weeks ago. When the bids came in, there was one person who submitted a bid, or one company, I should say. That's Emery Sapp and Sons Incorporated, which is, I might add, is the same as Hutchins. It's the same people. Somehow the company has changed names. So they are pretty much the only game in town. And this was broken out into 5 separate bids, one for each of those roadways that I just named. But they did bid on all 5. The total of those bids was $246,000. I don't see where that number is.
522.
It's on
There
page
it
3.
is, $522.25. Now that is over what we budgeted. I believe we budgeted $215,000. So that's about $32,000 over what we budgeted. However, with the cell tower transaction that's about to occur, we can easily absorb the $32,000 based on what we have in our general fund account. And so I would recommend to the board that we go forward with this bid and do all 5 roadways.
And I guess considering the increase in the price of petroleum products, we had no idea what it was going to come back at, so.
That's correct.
Perhaps we're fortunate that.
The contractor said exactly that when we did the bid over
Oh, really?
last week.
Could I address the board on that?
Please.
Back when I give my estimate on the cost of this budget, gas was under $3 a gallon. It's now 4.5. The estimator that was at the bid opening, back 3 months ago, he was buying his oil, the oil we require for tack oil, for $2.05 a gallon, it's up to $4 a gallon.
Wow.
So, and that's why I try to express to the board, you know, when you go 6 weeks to 2 months down the line before it actually gets bid out, the price can go up astronomically.
Sure.
I will take some blame on this myself too, because when I estimated, you always have to estimate your road widths an average, because no road is, our roads ain't perfectly 18 foot, 20 foot, 19 foot, so you got to take an average. My average is lower than what the estimator thought they was going to average, so that had a part to do with the higher cost. But the main part is the oil.
Oh, yeah.
Labor, everything is going on.
I think your estimation was on target. I think we're just facing the same problem everybody else in the world is
And it's
facing.
very hard to do this, to estimate it when you're, especially budget-wise, when you're trying to estimate out 10 months before.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Thank you for your comments.
Those are
Annie,
explainable.
did you get any feedback from ESI about why we only get one bid? I mean,
No, sir, I didn't.
it's frustrating.
Do you remember any comments on that? I mean, why there was only this one bid? I think maybe just the fact that we're in a rural area, we just don't have a lot of providers that do this type of work around us, and they're all very busy. I do remember that comment.
I know Commissioner Brown, I think, didn't you talk to somebody who said, oh yeah, we'd love to do it?
I know that was
These
on the
people don't bid.
building, on the snow, the chat building.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
There was another bid package sent out to Marion County Paving that just did the city's paving. And evidently, yeah, they said at first, yeah, they'd be interested to look at the bid package, but evidently they weren't interested enough to bid on it. Like I told back in budget, when we were doing budget last year, we lost the owner of Heavy Constructors because the trend for many years past has been we usually only have 2,
Yeah.
Hutchins and Heavy Constructors. These other companies are so far out or so rural that they would have to charge so much to cover their costs, just mobilization.
Just to get here.
And up here. If you was talking a $20 million job, oh, they'd get right on it.
Yeah.
You're talking $250,000.
Yeah.
$246,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
We're small potatoes.
it's very hard. I mean, it's very hard being this rural.
Yeah.
And I don't see it changing for y'all, really don't.
Now, these contractors
Good luck,
that are out someplace else, they have to pay per deal, they have to get their staff here, they have to mobilize the equipment, get it moved here. Catsville's a whole lot closer than Dallas, Texas.
That's right. That's right.
These jobs are all advertised. If there's anybody out there interested in picking up work, all they gotta do is watch for the bids to be advertised.
And ours was advertised in Arkansas Democrat Gazette, so it went way out. It wasn't just in the local little paper.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
All right. Commissioner
I'll
Stantz
I'll
made a
second
motion to approve the 2020 road surfacing project bids. Commissioner Brown has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, Mike, you've got a project ahead of you then. And just, well, no, I'll wait for a second on that. All right, let's move. Do we have any public comments?
I'll make a comment.
All right, Mayor?
Dan Keys, 120 Holiday Island Drive, but in my official capacity as mayor of Holiday Island, I'd like to thank Danny too for everything he's done for the city and the community over the years. I got to know Kenny quite well during my tour on the VOC. People that complain about, you know, how things are done in Holiday Island have never actually met and talked to the people that do all the work. We have the greatest bunch of people in Holiday Island doing remarkable things with very little resources. And, you know, I wish Kenny well in retirement. I offered him a job already. He said no thanks. So, good luck. And he's got some pretty wild shorts that he wears in his backyard.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Additional public comments? Ms. Wilkes, did you have one?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We have a 3-minute time limit.
I think after I get up here.
I can understand and relate.
First of all, I'd like to thank the road crew. I've had potholes in front of my home, which I went out and measured the other day, and one of them was like 5 inches deep and 10 inches across, and within a couple of days after I had said something about it, it was repaired.
Wonderful.
So I do want to thank them for that.
Wonderful.
Because it was getting to where cars would hit it and you could hear it. Damage was, you know, was going to happen to their cars, so I do appreciate that. The reason I'm here this morning is I am very concerned about what I have heard and read on, of course, you hear everything on Facebook or whatever, but there has been a discussion between people that we are supposed to have an increase in our assessments coming up next year. And with the situation the way it is, with the high cost of living and everything now, it's really, really hard to make ends meet. And I don't know how people with young children and school-age children manage to buy and pay for doctor bills and buy groceries and everything. I'm retired and I live on Social Security and live on a very tight budget. And it's very, very hard to try to make ends meet myself. And so to have an increase in our assessment would be a very hardship on a lot of people. So I am going to ask that, if at all possible, that you do not raise the assessments, that the cost is just too much. And people are going without food, they're going to the food banks, they're going hungry, not able to pay their bills or losing their homes up here, from what I can understand. And fortunately, I was able to pay for my home, so all I have to worry about is paying my taxes and my assessments. And but I am here to ask you to please put it on record to not raise your assessments, our assessments for this next year. And you know, if at all possible, I do believe that with the cost of the golf course, and I know that's a sore subject with everybody. It is with me, but I have read where we have lost over $500,000. I don't know if that's correct or not. But whatever we lost, you keep, I'm sorry?
Your time is up, Mavis.
Yeah.
Your 3 minutes.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Wilkes.
Oh,
We appreciate it.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I think we need to change things a little bit. Thank you.
We'll take your comments under consideration. Thank you. All right, any other public comments? Commissioner comments?
I'd like to, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I appreciate what Ms. Wilkes brought up, and our budget will be starting probably in August. And Ms. Wilkes, that's one of my goals. But if you haven't been to many meetings lately, but you may have tuned in on Zoom or the other one, YouTube. But I think all 5 commissioners here, and Danny Presley's been here about a year, and I know his goal is to make our budget as lean as possible, but also to take care of expenses. And we spent several hours, many hours here, cutting. The department heads meet with the district manager weekly, and I'm sure he's told them, let's keep costs to a minimum, and they do that. They do a wonderful job of it. But the old Arnold Palmer commercial, pay me now or pay me later, of Pennzoil, if you let the roads go, you let the water plant go, you let any of our assets go, you're going to be paying more later, or you're going to have to shut them down. The golf course expenses, I'd like to refer you to Danny's interview with Becky Gillette in the ESI Independent about 3 weeks ago, and it was an excellent story, a long story, where he very well explained the value of a golf course to the community. And if you don't have one, Tom Dees told me about a city in Florida where they closed one. Bob Dyer lived near one where they closed a golf course, and it was a very much of a disaster for home values. But getting back to your question about the assessment, Councilmember Mills, who's back there today, at the last city council meeting, one of his comments at the end of the meeting, and we had about 12 people, by the way, so thank you all for coming today. But one of his questions was, when are we going to have a meeting with the Board of Commissioners, the City Council and the Board of Commissioners? I would like to encourage the mayor, who's here today, and Mr. Presley to try to get that set up possibly in July. And the reason for it is, are there any costs that money that's coming into the city that could be used for legitimate costs for the BOC, for the assessment, and therefore having our assessment either remain stable or just up a little bit according to inflation and so forth. We had one meeting quite a long time ago, and in my opinion, it wasn't very successful. Someone else has said, well, let's have the mayor come in and give a talk to the BOC, but I want to talk to each one of these people. They were elected, they're my friends, I support them, and I think they support us. But there's a lot of people who say, well, we don't need a city. We don't need a city and a city. We got to get rid of one of them. Well, that's not going to happen, and the reason the city was formed, for those of us who worked on that committee for a long time, was to extend the life of the city. And if we do it right, we can make that happen. So I would like, Mayor, to have you maybe and Mr. Presley get together and make that happen at some point in time. I think there's a lot of good ideas that we could come up with that would be very helpful in cost management for the future.
Hey, any other comments?
Yes,
Commissioner comments?
Madam Chair.
Sure.
We had a meeting set up last week that was going to, our work session, which got canceled, was going to be between the board, VOC, and the city. And I don't know why it was canceled, but maybe it was necessary, but we need to stay on track with that. We need to stay on track with lots of things because, number one, last year, as far as what Ms. Wilkes had to say about the assessment, we showed a profit, an excess of cash of $1.5 million. And then we turned around and raised the assessment. We're paying $780 a year to live at Holiday Island. I guess maybe I got just a little bit sideways not too long ago when I went to the rec center to get my wife a swimming permit for the pool. And I pulled out my debit card and presented it for payment. She said, oh, by the way, there'll be a 2.5% added to your card for the processing fee. And I told her, I said, that won't happen. I ended up writing a check to it. But why do we gouge people? Why do we purposely just try to, pardon me, piss people off by doing such stupid things as 2.5%? That'd be $2.50 on a $100 permit to swim. Why do we do that?
Well, probably.
That is the most asinine. I worked for a Chevrolet company, and they were going to add 4% if you used a credit card. It lasted a week. It lasted a week. And they came into George Nunley Chevrolet and said, we can go to Fast Lube and they don't charge us that. It just aggravates people. It aggravated me. It made me madder than hell. Because it's just constantly aggravating somebody to gouge for a nickel or a dime. When the big scheme of things, we had a surplus of $1.5 million. And it cost us $780 a year to live at Holiday Island. What for? I could live in Eureka Springs and not pay $780 to Eureka Springs to live there.
What's their city?
And I could come right back out here and play golf and pay that non-member fee, and it's cheaper than the $780.
Of course, you're going to have to pay city property tax in Eureka Springs.
Well, it don't amount to that.
It's way more.
No, it's not.
Way
No, it's
more
not.
there.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay.
And you don't have to live inside the city limits of Eureka Springs. But anyway, we have got to get a handle on what this board is doing. And I'll finish up of this, but because what we're doing is we're destroying the community of Holiday Island. These assessments are out of hand. They stagnant growth, they stymie it. They didn't make it stagnant yet, but they cut back on the growth that would happen. Holiday Island has the potential of being the largest city in Carroll County. It always has had, because of the infrastructure and the amenities and the stuff that it has. The parks, if you want to call them parks or amenities, it always has had the potential of being the largest city in Carroll County. Right now, it's the second.
So you remember the amount of projects that we were not able to fund last year when we did the budget. Which of the departments do you think we should not fund? Because that's the only way.
I don't think we should just defund anything.
So how are we going to pay for them then?
We had $1.5 million surplus.
That's not a surplus,
That's
Larry.
not a
That's a
surplus.
mandated reserve.
That's a reserve.
If you'll read the.
Mandated by whom? By the Board of
By the
Commissioners.
board, yeah.
Okay.
We also have $1.3 million in unpaid assessments, past due assessments,
That's right.
that we're not going to get. So
Well- Why are we showing them as income?
But why are you saying we would lower it? We didn't have enough money to fund what needed to be done anyway.
With $1.5 million in surplus?
You're,
Hey, I'm just going by your books.
It's not surplus, so it's, we have to keep 35%, is that correct? And,
We're at
assessment.
35%. We're at the bottom threshold.
yes.
and we're at 40, I think you said 41%, is that a million something?
I've never known any governmental entity that wasn't required to keep a reserve fund. It's like your savings account. When something happens, like a $100 million water well that goes out, you got to have money to dip into to fix it. We would all love to lower assessments, but if we do, we're going to lower the ability of the road department to function. We're gonna destroy our
We
golf
need
courses.
to, we need to take a serious look at the entire picture. It needs to be looked
Larry,
at.
you were on the board when we made the budget this past year.
I was.
Yes.
And if I'd known we had $1.5 million surplus, you think I would have voted for an increase? That would never have happened. I would have been a whole lot more vocal than I am now.
Okay, any other comments? I just have one informational item. You know, we had a special meeting the beginning of June about the cell tower project because the attorneys wanted a commitment from the board that we were going to carry through before they would even start that project of drafting all of the legal paperwork. That has all been done. It's been sent to our attorney who had 1 or 2 questions. And so once that's resolved, we'll either have a special meeting or we'll put it off until the regular meeting in July. Yes, please.
2 comments. First off, Ms. Wilkes, I want to thank you for your comment about the potholes.
Yes.
Because what you did is exactly how the system works. And I know we hear about potholes a lot. That's kind of a thing that people like a way to jab us sometimes. But most of those potholes, honestly, Ms. Wilkes, are not reported. You did the right thing. You reported it, and it was fixed in 2 days. That's how the system works. And I would encourage everyone in the community to use the tool that is available on the website, on the HICID website, to report them, or better yet, make a phone call. The phone number for the roads department is right there on the website or in your phone book. Make a phone call and it will get fixed. Don't be a social media keyboard jockey. So, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I might, excuse me. I might also add that I know that you all don't like to read on the social media, but I would suggest that 1 or 2 of you go on social media to find out what citizens like myself are saying on there, to either find out how we all feel or what's going on in the world where we live, because I'm sure that where we are is so much different than where you are.
Yeah.
And
Trust me, ma'am, we do monitor it. We do read it. We just don't engage in the comments because
They just want
it never ends well. You know, sometimes people don't want to face the truth,
the thing that, you know, I do have friends on there that discuss the happenings in Holiday Island and some of the problems, and we have our group that there's so many changes that we would like to see, because, as I said in my talking a while ago, it is getting unbearable where we have this increase every year or so. We have this increase, and it's like, you know, our money just goes so far.
Well, we can't control inflation, we can't control gas prices, we can't,
Inflation, but
and you have to have funds to operate on. And Facebook is not the place to take care of your problems. You being here today is the place to bring attention to your problem. Facebook is a mess of misinformation, lies.
And that's a perfect example of what you brought up today about the talk on Facebook about us raising the assessments. I swear to God, there has been no conversations on this board or within the senior staff about raising assessments. And the Facebook page you're talking about where that goes on, they won't let me or any of the members be a part of it. So, you know, we can't even get on it.
this was on Holiday Island.
Cesspool.
Next door.
Neighbors, the original neighbors.
And it is a frequent, I read on there and I think, well, now, is this true or is this not true?
No,
And
you
so
think it's true.
I start checking on things and I start reading and I read holiday happenings every time it's printed out and sent to me. I have all of those that I get for information.
Well, the best thing is to do exactly what you did today and come to this meeting, and we will tell you the truth, so.
And the amenities that we have, I appreciate all those. I do not use them. I do not play golf. I don't swim. I almost drowned when I was 3 years old, so I stay away from water. I do fish, but I haven't fished since I've been up here.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go to the lake. This is something that I came up here to be closer to my son who lives in Eureka Springs.
Mhm.
I'm alone, and I live alone, and I prefer that to being in a great big city where I came from.
Yeah.
I'm a small town farm girl. I don't, I just don't want to be bothered with a lot of people. So where I chose to live is, I have an empty vacant lot on one side and an empty vacant lot on the other, and I'm right there, and I stay by myself. I don't try to get out to do anything with anyone. I don't care. I'm here. And the reason I'm here is, as I said, to be close to my son. I just turned 80 years old, and I will probably never leave unless I'm carried out.
Well, we appreciate you, and we will take your comments to heart. I have a question, though, for Ken Mills, the city council member.
Yeah.
Mayor Keys reported to us several months ago now, I think, that you had successfully had a conversation with RDOT and got them to agree to lower the speed limit on Highway 23 through the city limits, as well as put up some signs, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when that's going to take place?
I followed up on that about 3 weeks ago, and I was told the signs are on order. As soon as they get here, they'll install them.
Okay.
I will follow up on it again. I do like to follow up on things when they don't happen.
Well, we really appreciated what you did,
Yeah.
and now we're just anxious for the results.
When I was on the board, we tried to get that done.
Yeah.
And they told us no.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
I had quite a conversation with the district manager, director, I don't know what he is, over in Harrison, Steve Lawrence, I think is his name, and I will follow up on it when I think there's adequate time that they haven't done anything. But they have assured me it will happen, and I'd say,
And when it happens, we need to get a picture.
Yeah.
You can even be in it.
I was concerned. I thought they'd had enough time to get it done.
Yeah.
I guess there's supply line issues everywhere. So.
I understand, so, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your efforts in that, Ken. We all appreciate it.
Yeah, in defense of RDOT, since there's a new census, probably every single city in the state of Arkansas has asked for new population signs.
Oh,
They were
that,
city
Hadn't thought
limits,
about
so
yeah,
it's,
Hadn't even thought about that.
Well, I tried to get them just change the speed limits. But they said no, they would do it all at once.
Ah.
One crew, that makes sense.
That's RDOT for the checks in the mail.
All right, do we have any other commissioner comments?
Madam Chair, as a person who was hit in my automobile coming out of the front gate onto 23, Mr. Mills, I appreciate your efforts on that. It goes from 45 to 35, and I think they're still going 45 when they come up to our gate.
Oh, yeah.
I hit there, so, thank you.
55.
All right, moving along to commissioner agenda scheduling. My calendar seems to show that a tentative work session will be scheduled for July the 18th, and the next official regularly scheduled meeting would be July the 25th.
Madam Chair, could we ask that the possibility of the city and the BOC meeting on that 18th
we'll explore that possibility with the mayor.
Good.
All right, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Dyer has made a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Brown has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. It's usually a fire thing. I told you, I really got you this lot, no idea, they changed the lights. It's so much better.
It's a lot better.
Much
It's
better.
very minimal cost.
Oh, it was worth every dime.
I hate to get up twice.
No, don't worry about it.
I get to go recharge.